Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Coffee Meetup. I'm Christy Connor, the host of Friday Coffee Meetup. We are the largest active innovation, entrepreneurial, and tech meetup in Los Angeles, California. Happy New Year to everyone. We're grateful to be back with our community during this challenging time, and we're wishing everybody peace and joy in the year ahead. We have a tradition of Nick Stein kicking us off for the new year, and so I'm going to be introducing him in just a moment. We are grateful to have him with us. Although you are seeing my face right now, there's actually many people behind the scenes that make this happen each week. I would like to show you their faces as well. We're grateful for all the efforts that they put in each week to make this happen. It takes a lot of effort to put it on every week. We're also grateful for our members. We haven't been able to see you in person for a number of months, but we are hopeful that we will be able to see you again in person this year. And we're grateful that you keep showing up and keep learning and keep communicating with one another. We have a video YouTube channel. If you've missed any of our speakers, you're able to see them there. A few logistical things before we get started. This is being broadcast from Zoom via LinkedIn Live, and we will be starting in just a moment. All questions and answers will be answered via Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you can join us in the Q&A panel at the center of your screen on the bottom. If you want to ask a question there, I will be aggregating questions and pulling those together for Nick this morning after we finish his presentation. Don't put your question in the chat window. We are not moderating the chat window, but we have put some information there about Nick and about our meetup, so you can get more information there. But put your questions into the Q&A panel. And then after our presentation today, we will have open networking. So go ahead and stay on the line, and at the end of the session, after we turn off the recording, we'll bring whoever is remaining over into the panelist pool so that you can share your video and be able to chat with Nick and some of the other leaders for Friday Coffee Meetup. With that, I am so excited to introduce Nick Stein. Nick has opened us every year for the past 4 years with a theme of mindfulness and recentering ourselves. And today he's going to talk to us about mindfulness in the time of COVID and how this practice can help build our resiliency. Nick is the former showrunner of National Geographic's Border Wars. And through that experience, he had many adventures and also quite a bit of trauma that happened. And he's turned his life around using mindfulness and meditation. And his practices that he's led us through have helped change lives. And he's also just published his first book here, Mindfulness as a Second Language. And Valerie Alexander, who's on as well, has done the foreword for that. So check that out. I put the information in the chat window as well. With that, Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for being with us this morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Christy, and everybody at Friday Coffee Meetup for all the work you do. It's incredible and how well you've transitioned from being live to being Zoomed. I've got a lot of information to give you today, so I think it's better that I just jump right in and share my screen with you. We'll do a couple of meditations. They won't be very long because of the time constraints, but they will give you a taste of what I hope you will be doing on your own after this. I have an agenda and it's not hidden. And my agenda really is truly that if you don't have a meditation practice, you will after today. I hope to convince you that it's really incredibly valuable, and there's really no barrier to it. There's nothing that can get in your way. There's amazing resources. It's free. It's you. It's what it is. And so we'll talk about that. So I'm going to share my screen now. Click on here, and hopefully everybody can see it. And we'll go full screen. Okay, so Friday Coffee Meetup 2021. I call my program, my workshops, which I do for all manner of populations, including CEOs and presidents and key executives through Vistage, as well as I've been teaching law enforcement for many years. And what I teach for law enforcement is really having to do with resilience. Goodness knows they need it because of what they go through every day, every shift. So it's really something that I thought I would share with you today. Normally, I don't do a whole piece on resilience for most audiences because I'm really trying to get them simply to understand the basic concepts and techniques of mindfulness and meditation. So today I'm going to really talk about how to bounce back from challenging situations. And there's always available time later, and certainly you can reach out to me and maybe join one of my other groups to get more into the technique and into the actual aspects of it. So as Christy said, this is not my first time at the rodeo. I guess we've started a tradition here. So I've done, I think, 4 of these so far, and it's really been a joy. So these are some pictures from times gone by. Now, this is my dog. This is my dog, Bodhi. And a lot of people ask me how in the world I trained him to do this. And I'll just say it took many, many, many months and diligent training, but here he is. And if you see Bodhi, which you may well, it means we're going to have an experience. We're going to meditate together. We're going to have an actual direct experience. So what we're going to start out with is what I call a 1-minute non-meditation. And what I mean by non-meditation is I'm not going to give you any real technique. I'm not going to tell you how to breathe or how to anchor yourself into a focal point. I just really want you to do one thing, and I want you to just observe. This is a huge part of what we're going to be talking about today. The ability to think and know you're thinking, okay? To really have an observational aspect to it, almost a witness consciousness to what's really going on in your mind. Instead of just being lost in thought, we're going to actually watch our thoughts, okay? So just get yourself comfortable, get yourself sort of symmetrical, get your feet on the ground, however you're sitting, get a nice sort of alert posture, and I will keep track of the time. And here we go. Of course, if you hear a sound like, it sounds like a bowl, it's because it's a bowl. Here we go. Okay, so I hope that wasn't too bad. For some people, they describe it as the longest minute of their lives. Other people think it just went by like that. So it's really interesting to see what happened. I'm going to ask one person to kind of tell me what was happening in your mind. Let me go to Jan. Jan, can you unmute yourself and just give us all a little sense of what you can remember of what was racing through your head for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because you start to just become aware of just breathing or just quieting your mind. Some sort of thoughts sort of fleet in and out, but it's nice to just, I was realizing that, like, even in the morning, I don't do that. I wake up and I start looking at my phone, you know, and it is nice to just take a moment like that. Yeah, it just felt good.
Great. Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, the act of coming to a full stop, the act of really getting quiet and undistracted is a radical act in today's world, today's digital world. It really is nothing less than radical. And so the reason I call this strategic stillness is because it really is something which we won't do unless we're trained to do it, unless we have the intention to do it, unless we know why it's beneficial to us. So obviously I'll start out by talking about COVID. It's really obviously an incredibly difficult time. And these are some of the mental fallout that's been happening. As we all know, we're hearing about an epidemic of stress, anxiety, and depression and burnout. And it's really a no kidding matter. I think suicides are up and everything else that you would imagine from this sort of situation. So this is a little more urgent this time to talk about why you might want to onboard these techniques and these tools, because, you need everything you can get, because life was hard enough before the pandemic. And now it's even trickier and harder, and their financial stressors and everything else. So this is a radical act of self-care, and I want you to take it seriously. And then, of course, we have our Zoom situation, which is, wonderful. Thank God for Zoom and Skype and all their other platforms, but it's still quite isolating in many ways. So, just as this is the time more than ever to take care of yourself. And the reason is that we are all rather fragile. It's not easy being a human being. We don't. What's happening here now is really not natural for us. We're social animals. We want to be together. We want to talk together. We want to eat together. We want to touch each other, and that's being denied us. So, but we're still here, and we're still human. And this is what I want you to remember. It's not your fault. Okay, it's just your turn. And now what I mean by that is that, there are going to be aspects of your emotional and mental life that is hardwired. That's actually part of you that you can't help, and that is natural. And it's very important to understand what is normal for us and what isn't. So just, give yourself a break if you're having some tough moments and times, because it's not your fault. Much of it is just the way we are wired. So I'm going to talk today about resilience. And it's not really optional anymore, as if it ever was, but it's obviously sort of an emergency situation. And you're going to want to have whatever tools you can get to bring it more on board. But there are three kinds of resilience. There's innate, which we were literally sort of born with, like any animal would be. It's adapted. This is where we go through our lives and we're learning, how to navigate, and we learn from our mistakes, and we learn a lot of things, including the fact that everything is impermanent, right? So you will find that you knock down, your love walks out on you, you lose your job, whatever, and over time you come back. So it's adapted, and you begin to realize that nothing really is forever. But then there's cultivated, and that's what we're going to talk about today. You can really create more resilience. You can up the game. This is a learned skill, like so many others. And there's a number of skills that you can learn through mindfulness. But resilience is the one we'll be talking about mostly today. So it's what you can do, though. So you can cultivate these things. I think I've told you before, I had a year where I wasn't speaking to my older brother because of all kinds of stuff having to do with some property. My father left us and we didn't agree on it. So I did what they called compassion and loving kindness meditations almost every day, because I love my brother and it was really painful. So I would do various things, and these are techniques which we won't go into detail today, but like I say, it's in the book. And it's also available online, and I'm available to talk more about it. But this is a way of saying that we can cultivate these aspects of us. We're not just born. Some people are compassionate, some people aren't. You can really build these aspects to yourself. And today we're really talking about resilience, and what we mean is we really want to have an ability to bounce back. We want to have ability to come back. When I talk to cops, I talk about the aspect that, let's say you have a cop and a partner in a vehicle, and they're responding to a call, and the call is gruesome. It's some horrendous, domestic that's ended badly. And, this really can be absolutely horrific. And one of these cops will have enough resilience that they'll be able to go on and, not zone out, or not to make themselves, what's the word? So they don't feel anything, numb to it. That can happen. But let's say, they integrate it properly. And then the other person can have this sort of thing happen and then just drop and go down. So the two people, same example, one has some resilience, the other one has less. So that's what I mean by that. So at the end of the day, mindfulness and meditation as a practice is sort of like this little VW bug. You navigate your normal day with it. You literally go through your day having more and more bursts of real mindfulness, which we'll explain more, but where you're really present, where you're really appreciative, where you're really open, where you're really curious. But when the proverbial shit hits the fan, I think of my practice more like this. It really, thank God, I've got it. We don't have very many tools to cope with life, and not very many wholesome tools. I mean, goodness knows there's coping mechanisms, and a lot of it's, over too much alcohol. That's a coping mechanism, not very sustainable. We can watch TV till we fall asleep on Netflix every night and just sort of zone out. So I'm talking about a real tool, which is available, good for you, and that you go. It's a real takeaway today. I'm going to ask you to, when you start a meditation practice, there's something for you to really, really do. So the analogy I like to use is, let's say you want to be fit. You want to be physically fit. Well, what do? Well, one of the things you can do is you can go to the gym, right? And you can work out. And if you can't go to the gym these days, you can work out at home. It's actually a tool you can use. Now, if you want to be mindful, which means that you really want to be more and more and more present in your life, more open, more curious, and more kind-hearted and so forth. If you want to have that on board, then here's your gym. This is your gym. This is where you build the muscle of mindfulness, and this is where you learn to be mindful. You practice it, and I will explain this in a second, so that when you are not meditating, you take it into your real life. So what is meditation? Obviously, a lot of you know this. Meditation, there are many definitions, but let's say this one. Meditation is a set of techniques to slow down the body and the mind to focus one's attention on the present moment. That's what you're really doing when you're sitting to meditate. It's not easy. You may slow the body down by sitting quietly, but you may not slow the mind down very easily. And I want to make sure that you don't think that you just sit and suddenly peace and serenity just surround you. As a matter of fact, in the early days, it's going to be particularly hard because you haven't practiced. And also, when you stop being distracted and you're just you face to face with yourself, it can be slightly terrifying. It can be absolutely unsettling. And you can feel like you're not doing it right. But I want to assure you that there's no such thing as not doing it right. And I'll tell you why. So meditation 101. This is the basic, simplest way I can explain the technique. Sitting, of course, you're in meditation mode, and you're going to choose a focal point. This is concentration meditation. You're going to choose a focal point or anchor to pay attention to. And this is my image of an anchor. This is a rather large one, but it's to show you that this is a really critical part of the practice. So many times you're going to hear that you're going to focus on the breath. And the breath is ubiquitous, and the breath is classical, and there's many ways to do it. But at the end of the day, it's not the only thing to focus on. I'm going to show you some other techniques right here because of the fact that some people don't like it. They don't think it's going to work out for them. they need to add to it. They need to build up something to go with the breath. And these are some of the other things you can focus on. You can literally meditate to sounds in the room, wherever you are. Every sound you hear is in the present moment. Every combination of sounds you hear is unique to right now. And it's probably, those combinations of sounds has never been heard before by any other person or animal in the universe, and will probably never be heard again. So it couldn't be more real time. You can focus on body sensations because your body's constantly bringing up data, and you're paying attention to it or you're not. Goodness knows if your knee hurts, you're paying attention to it. But there's data coming up even if you're not in distress. There's your 5 senses, which we're going to explore. Obviously, the 5 senses is your portal to the world, and truly all the information that you have is coming through these 5 senses. I mean, that's a complete thought. Just remember that it's all coming through sight or hearing or touch or smell or taste. All of it. Then there's something called direct inquiry. Now, I'll explain this a little bit. There's questions you can ask yourself while meditating, which is really strong and an interesting, sometimes mind-twisting way to do it. You've all heard of the Zen koans, with the famous, Zen koan, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Well, there's no real good answer for that, but it really puts your mind into an interesting place. I use direct inquiry this way, where I'll be sitting and I'll say to myself while I'm meditating, what is this? And you can imagine there's no real answer to that. So what is this? What is this meditation? What is this room? What is this chair? What am I doing? Every time you say, what is this? This changes. It's a new moment. It's a new thought. So there's this direct inquiry to get your mind into a place where you're breaking out of your normal thinking, everything and what's going to happen next. And then simple words, again, all in conjunction with your meditation or with your breathing. And some of them I breathe in and I say to myself, just, and I breathe out and I say, be. Just be. Now, as you can see, it's instructional and it's permission, and it's very quieting and it's very centering. So you can do here, now, just be. You can make up your own. This is your own practice, by the way. You can do whatever you need to. So this concentration technique really is, and it's not the only one, but it's the one we'll talk mostly about today, allows you to learn how to focus, learn how to really be present, and learn how to keep your attention where you choose it to be, right? This is what we're talking about. It's like if you had to write a really intense email, a really important email, you would be on task and you would choose to write that email. And of course, every time you got distracted would be not on task. It's like your mind takes over, but we're going to put you on task in a different way. And what you'll be doing is building that muscle of mindfulness, like going to the gym. You'll get better and better at it, and then you'll take it away from meditation and you'll be better and more focused, which is why so many people in business are doing it now. So the other aspect of it is this. It's really that observational thing. Not only you're building the muscle of mindfulness, but this level of concentration and trying to stick your attention on a particular focal point or anchor. This is when you get to actually observe the power of the mind. When you see how difficult it is to even pay attention to your breath, even for 10 seconds, you see your mind wants to run away and literally have a mind of its own. And this is really important to know that, okay? This is all clearly an important aspect to know the power of the mind. And again, forgive yourself, you're only a human, and this is normal. This is very important. So many people think you have to clear your mind. If you're not suppressing your thoughts or clearing your mind, you're doing it wrong. That's wrong. That couldn't be more wrong. And secular mindfulness meditation, we know we can't clear our minds. It's a fool's errand. If you try, you'll fail. And if you fail, you'll quit. So what we talk about is changing your relationship to your thoughts like this. You observe them. Now you're more flexible with it and you're more aware of it. And that is really what we're trying to do. Calm and peace and serenity will come as a byproduct of all of this work. It's not going to become because you go grab some peace and grab some serenity, and it doesn't work like that, and it's impossible. So you observe and more and more what you do. So here's Bodhi. So that means we're going to have an experience together, and we're going to go ahead and do one of my favorite meditations. This just shows you right here. This is not a breath-oriented meditation. This is a different one. And again, I'll be quick. Unfortunately, we have to move fast, but we can always do longer later if you want to get in touch with me. So get settled again, get yourself centered, and feel the contact you have with your chair and your feet on the ground, and close your eyes. And we'll do this for a quick bit. And I really want you to really focus your attention on the things I'm talking about, and watch what it feels like to focus your attention in this way. So here we go. Take a couple of deep breaths just to center yourself and drop into your body, and loosen and drop your shoulders. Loosen your jaw. Know that your body is always present. Your body is always in the here and now. It's your mind that could be anywhere, everywhere, and sometimes anywhere but this. Another couple of deep breaths. Let it out. Drop down into the body. Okay, there's lots more ways to prepare than we'll be able to do today. So we're going to move right into the five senses. Let's start with sight. And this may sound strange because our eyes are closed, but the truth is your eyes are open. It's only your eyelids that are closed. And I want you to see what you can see behind your eyelids. Notice it's not just dark or pitch black. There's a bit of a light show going on. Something you may never have paid attention to. And if you turn your head towards a light source, the window or a light bulb, watch how it changes and gets even more busy, more data for you to focus on. Okay, now we're going to move to your hearing, the sounds. We used to do this in a room together, but now everyone's got their own sound chamber. You're all in different environments, but really notice when your eyes are closed, particularly how quickly sound jumps to the fore. Just open your ears as if you could not do that, and just let the sound waves in near and far, loud and soft, just open to sound. Moving on to touch. That can be, say, your hands are in your lap. You can touch one hand with the other, feel the texture, feel the warmth. And touch obviously goes way beyond just the hands. Your whole body is involved with touch. Feel the clothes on your back, the glasses on your head. Gravity holding you gently in your seat. Moving on to taste. Some of you might remember in another session we did in early January was we took about 5 minutes to eat a single raisin. I don't know if you remember that, but it's another concentration technique where you examine and weigh the raisin and listen to the raisin and smell the raisin and finally taste the raisin. So often at this point, I'll say most people, they're taste buds are full of raisin and or coffee, or some combination of the two. And then finally, smell whatever is in your environment, and it may well be coffee. It's a Friday Coffee Meetup. And now I want you to get a global sense. Open your senses, all 5 of them. Really try to take in the environment in the present moment, being truly aware that these 5 senses are critical to your existence and the way you navigate the whole world, but finally really paying attention to them for themselves. Okay. So
That was great, Nick.
Normally I would.
If you want to just take a few minutes.
Thank you. So often I would ask people to talk about it, but we have so little time where we can talk later. So we'll just keep going, and that's something I want you to remember. And again, it's in the book, so if you don't remember, you can find it there. Okay, so I want to make sure you understand that this is not hocus pocus. This is not soft or hippy dippy or anything else. This is really some serious hard science. This has really been adopted by incredible organizations, people, institutions. But here are just some of the people who are famously daily meditators. So you're in good company. Obviously, Clint needs no introduction. The man here sitting on the floor does need some introduction. He's Timothy Ryan. He's a congressman from the 6th District of Ohio. He's known as the meditating congressman, but he's really known for believing that this is a really important health issue for the country, for the world. He wrote a great book called A Mindful Nation, and he talks about it in terms of policy. So you might remember Tim Ryan and his book. Of course, Tiger Woods, also famous meditator. Mr. Clinton famously meditates. And finally, these are the big 3 that I like to talk about. Kobe, God bless him, LeBron, and Michael Jordan. You've all heard the stories about Phil Jackson. He's a huge proponent of this. All of his teams did this. And this really is something all 3 of these men have credited for their success on the court. So what is mindfulness? Well, I was going to do a little joke and say, well, I'm not going to tell you what mindfulness really is. You have to buy the book, but I'm just kidding. Here's the classic definition of mindfulness. And we get it from a man named Jon Kabat-Zinn. And Jon Kabat-Zinn is known as the father of secular mindfulness. He was an MIT trained scientist who was also an American Buddhist, if you will. And he was on retreat, and he realized that this was such an important aspect of the human mind and body. We all can be mindful without training. It is an attribute that we can have, but he realized that, but in the training of it, this is where the real benefits come. And he realized if it wasn't secular, there's John, if it wasn't secular, if it wasn't decoupled from Buddhism and all of that goes along with it, in terms of being an exotic Eastern thing, religion, which is open to debate, it would not be adopted. I probably wouldn't be here today. So he really is the man. It started in 1979, and as you know how huge it is today. So here's his classic definition. Mindfulness is learning to pay attention, as we've talked about, paying attention to the present moment. Okay, we know that. But on purpose. So it's really not just, oh, I'm paying attention. Of course, I'm here, aren't I? It's more like with true intention. It's a real focal point of the mind, and I'll, one example is when I drop into a mindfulness moment, I could be driving my car. And I just remember to be mindful. So I'm get out of my head and all the problems and all the squirrely stuff that's going on. And I feel the steering wheel in my hands, and I look around and I can feel Maybe I turn the radio down and I really hear what's going on. So it's really intentional, but it's also in specific ways. Okay. So it's really important that you do it with openness, sort of freshness, what we call beginner's mind. In this way, you're dropping all the filters of what you think you already think, what you already know, and you already have an opinion. You want to be open, you want to be curious, right? You want to see something new, and you want to see something familiar, you want to see it in a new way. And this takes practice, but it really is a tremendous attribute. And then with non-judgment, this is the hardest part of all, because we're judging machines, we're opinion-making machines. You walk down the street, you can test this for yourself. Walk down a crowded street, and you will see your mind saying to yourself, too tall, too short, doesn't dress well, too poor, too rich, too fat, too skinny. Your mind is just going to make judgments about everything you see. Too loud, too soft, whatever. So this is what it does. And again, you're only human, so this is important. There are reasons why you do it. But if you're not aware that you're doing it, then you're really not seeing the world new, fresh, or anything else. So we're moving on. How are we doing, Christy, on time?
We actually need to get over to some Q&A. So if you just want to wrap us up, we'll head over to that in just a minute.
All right. I'm going to do a little thing where I'm going to jump down to a little something here. Boy, this time goes by so fast. All right, let's get practical. All right, so what do I mean? This is really important that they say that 95% of having a successful practice is showing up, doing it, finding the place to do it, finding the time to do it. And so this is what I want you to really do, which is find a place in your house or your apartment. And when we're back at work, I tell people to run companies to make a quiet room for their employees. So what you're going to do is include a place where you feel comfortable and you can get a little bit of privacy. But again, you can meditate in any environment, really. I've meditated in Grand Central Station, so it's not like it has to be perfect with music and a lava lamp. This is a kind of a good example of kind of creating a space that really works for you, that feels calming to you. And then, of course, there's apps, with tremendous quality and great production values. So, I will recommend one app to you particularly, and this is it. The reason I recommend 10% Happier, there's a lot of reasons for it, but one, I want you not to be shopping around where you're going to go, I'll do calm.com and I'll do Headspace. No, maybe I'll do Insight Timer. All of them are great. But you don't even know what you're shopping for. With a car, you might know more what you're shopping for. I'm going to try to make it easy for you. And 10% Happier is really good for beginners. If you are a beginner, it's really good for everybody, actually. But Dan Harris, who's the fellow you see in all these photographs, wrote this great book called 10% Happier, How I Tamed the Voice in My Head, Reduced Stress Without Losing My Edge, and Found Self-Help That Actually Works, a True Story. And Dan was a major type A personality reporter, anchorman, who famously, and I would ask you to look at this, had a full-blown panic attack on live television on Good Morning America and slowly got himself into this thing. So I would get it. It's free for a week or I can't remember how it works before you hit the paywall. And if you don't want to pay for it, then use that first week, do it 2 or 3 times in a row, and then see how you feel. All right. So
I do want to have time for one or two questions. Okay.
Okay. There's that. And I'll stop sharing right now. All right. Well, the time at Friday Coffee Meetup is always quick, but here we are.
I know.
Best I can.
We didn't have a fire drill this year, so that was good. Please go ahead and put your questions into the Q&A panel. I know we do have a question about slides. We don't post them as Friday Coffee Meetup, but Nick, there was a question around if your slides were available. Should they reach out to you directly to talk about that?
Well, they're really not available. You know, there's
Okay.
something which I've changed and move around all the time. I guess they're proprietary in that regard, but the book is
Yeah.
available.
The book is available, and also the recordings. The recordings are available via our YouTube channel and also via LinkedIn Live. So you can find them there, Jose. Okay, what other questions do we have? While we're getting our questions, Nick, tell me a little bit about the process of writing your book and how meditation actually helped you in that process, if it did, meditation and mindfulness to create something new.
Well, it's won't be a surprise to you all to know that it all began at Friday Coffee Meetup. It truly did, for honest to God. And there was Valerie Alexander, who I believe is on the call, saw me speak that day. We got to talking and emailing, and I sent her a book I thought was great. And then I invited her to my weekly group, which you all, if you want to get in touch with me, that's happening every Monday. And she came and was with us a few weeks. And I thought at the time that Valerie was just a techie, high-tech person. She was working on a big tech project. And then at the end of this meeting, she said to me, you know, I do something else. I publish books. And I said, well, okay, well, that's great. And she said, and I want you to write my next book. And I said, I don't think so. People have asked me that before. Would you write a book? Could you write a book? And I said, no, I can't. It's much too difficult or something. So long story short, she has this great series. They're all called As a Second Language. So mine is the 6th book in the series called Mindfulness as a Second Language. And the other titles are Parenting as a Second Language, and Happiness as a Second Language, and Grief as a Second Language. So I am in the tradition of this book, and God bless her, because I did it. And with her help and guidance and a certain kind of format, I did it. And you can check that off my bucket list now.
One of our next questions is that we have somebody, they've meditated on and off for decades, and they're kind of going through a meditator's block right now where they can't make themselves sit down and do it. Any recommendations, or how should they deal with this?
Yeah, great question. That question shows you it's not easy. It's. I always say meditation is the easiest thing to quit. Meditation is the easiest thing to not prioritize. But I'm hope that even in this very short presentation that you will learn that it's important. I always talk about the fact that you would never leave your house without brushing your teeth, right? That's just something we would do. Well, think of brushing your teeth and using floss. This is not dental floss, this is mental floss. This is mental hygiene. This is something you really want to do. I would absolutely recommend doing it in the morning if you're having trouble finding time to do it. Why? Because you can make the time in the morning. You can literally get up a little earlier and find that quiet space. Sometimes it's really nice because the house is quiet. And then you start your day in a much better way. And again, don't try this just trying to power through it by yourself. Use an app. Get the books, and there's so many good ones. Read a little bit, get something going, and then sit and have it. Maybe get your cup of tea, sip your tea, read a little bit, and then get into it. Then you're done, in a sense. You don't chase it all day long. Oh, I want to meditate. I'm too busy. The email, the dinner, and so forth. So that's my recommendation. But if you do miss the morning, then find some time, and only really, this is important. Even 5 minutes. 5 minutes literally is a great thing to do. And it's not about duration of time. Not like meditate for an hour, it's going to be great. No, 5 minutes a day is a great way to start your practice. And then you may find you're in there for 10 minutes because you're either enjoying it or you get into it. And its frequency is far more important than duration. So just keep that in mind, and that'll help, I hope.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Nick. I'm sure there are going to be more questions. We are going to do open networking in a moment. But thank you, Nick, for your grand running streak of 4 years in a row. We're very grateful to have you and have you help us with mindfulness during these very challenging times. Next week, we are going to be having Dr. Tony Addy. He's the CEO of Phononic, and he's going to talk about riding the lightning and disrupting organizations and industries as he has a new solid state cooling and heating management solution, and it's really cool. You're going to love it. So please join us next week as well. Thank you, Nick. With that, we're going to sign off for today. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year.